Here's something no one really warns you about. When you leave school, when you finish uni, when you settle into a job and a routine, your social circle just sorta shrinks quietly. There's no big moment where it happens. You don't wake up one day and think, right, I've lost all my mates. It just slowly thins out. And then, one evening, you're sitting there, maybe something decent happened at work, or you watched something brilliant, and you go to text someone about it, and you just don't. Because who do you even text? That's a weird feeling, honestly. And I think a lot of men deal with it, but nobody really talks about it. Now, before I get into the hobbies that actually work for this, there's one line I want to throw at you first. And I'll explain it properly at the end because it won't fully make sense yet. But here it is. The loneliest men aren't the ones without people around them. They're the ones who stopped being findable. Just sit with that for a second. We'll come back to it. So why does this happen? Why do grown men, capable, decent, normal blokes, end up with basically no real friends by the time they hit their late 20s or 30s? And I'm not talking about people you follow on social media or colleagues you eat lunch with because you have no other option. I mean actual mates. People who notice if you disappeared for 2 weeks. The answer's pretty simple when you think about it. Structure disappears. When you were at school or uni, friendships were almost automatic. You were forced into the same room with the same people 5 days a week. You didn't have to try. But once that structure goes away, once it's just you, your job, your flat, and your routine, there's nothing pulling you toward new people anymore. And most men don't replace that structure with anything. They just let the gap sit there. Months go by, then years, and the gap gets comfortable, which is the dangerous part. Have you ever noticed that? How being alone starts feeling normal after a while? Not good. Just normal, and you stop questioning it because it doesn't hurt in an obvious way. It's more like a slow leak. You don't notice until you're completely flat. So here's where hobbies come in. And I don't mean hobbies in that cheesy Instagram self-improvement way. I mean genuinely finding something to do that puts you in the same room as other blokes on a regular basis. That's it. That's the whole trick. But there's a catch, and most people miss this part, so stay with me here, because it changes everything about how you approach this. The catch is this: not all hobbies work equally for making friends. And I think a lot of men pick the wrong ones and then wonder why nothing changes. Going to a regular gym, for example, rubbish for meeting people. Everyone's got their earphones in, everyone's avoiding eye contact, nobody talks. You could go for 3 years and never learn a single person's name. That's not a social hobby. That's just being alone in a crowded room. What actually works are hobbies where there's shared effort, shared struggle even. Things like boxing, five-a-side football, a climbing wall, a running club. When you're all going through something slightly uncomfortable together, conversation just happens. You don't have to force it. You don't have to be the most outgoing person in the room. The activity does the heavy lifting for you. And honestly, does it even have to be sport? No, not at all. Could be a woodworking class, a photography group, volunteering somewhere local, even a chess club if that's your thing. The specific hobby matters way less than people think. What actually matters, and this is where most blokes get it wrong, is consistency. They show up once, feel a bit awkward because they don't know anyone, and never go back. But think about it. When's the last time you felt properly comfortable somewhere on the very first visit? It doesn't work like that. Here's roughly how it goes. First time, you feel out of place. Second time, slightly less weird. Third time, someone nods at you. By the 5th or 6th time, someone remembers your name. By the 10th, someone saves you a spot or asks if you fancy grabbing a coffee after. That's the pattern, and it only works if you don't quit during the uncomfortable bit at the start. Now here's something I think is really important, and not enough people say it out loud. A lot of men, and I'd honestly include myself in this, we convince ourselves we're fine on our own, that we don't need people, that being independent is the same thing as being strong. But having even 2 or 3 people who genuinely know what's going on in your life will tell you straight when you're being an idiot, who you can actually talk to without performing, that changes everything. Your confidence shifts, your energy shifts. You start carrying yourself differently without even realizing it. But here's the one mistake to avoid. Don't walk into a hobby trying to collect friends. People feel that. It's awkward and it pushes them away. Just go because the thing itself interests you. The friendships are a side effect.
They come when you stop chasing them. Now, remember that line from earlier? The loneliest men aren't the ones without people around them. They're the ones who stopped being findable. Here's what I mean by that. If you never go anywhere new, if you never put yourself in a room where someone could meet you, you become invisible. Not because nobody cares, but because nobody even gets the chance to. You've removed yourself from the map, and the fix isn't complicated. It's just about making yourself findable again, showing up somewhere regularly, and letting people get to know you at a natural pace. So if any of this felt a bit too familiar, I'd say just pick one thing this week. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be forever. Just one hobby that gets you out of the house and around other people. And then go back the following week, and the week after that. That's genuinely all it takes to start rebuilding something real. And if you've been watching this far, you're clearly someone who actually wants to change something, not just think about it. So drop a comment and tell me, what's one hobby you've been meaning to try but keep putting off? I'm genuinely curious. And if this video helped even slightly, subscribe, because I make stuff like this regularly. Just honest conversations about the things most men are dealing with, but not really talking about.